What is up, you guys? Welcome to Illumination Lab. My name is Justin, and today we'll be kicking off part 3 of our dragon. In this video, we'll make the body of our dragon and throw in a basic background to wrap up our project. I'm excited for this one. This is going to be a fun one today. So without further delay, let's get into it. Alright, so jumping back into our project here, we pretty much wrapped up this portion here previously. We were throwing in a light here just to kind of see what everything looks like, and we're kind of liking how this looks so far, so we'll just kind of push forward here. To make the body of the dragon, what I'll do is I'll bring in a cylinder here. I'm going to rotate this and then really just make sure that this is lined up to the back of the head properly here. And then just kind of bring that down a bit. And then really I'm just going to elongate this. So my goal here is to somehow have a nice bend to this. So I'm going to bring in a bend deformer, and then we're just going to increase the segments here. So I'm going to grab our bend here and then just pull it forward and then play with the strength here. And then I'll actually shoot up these segments quite a bit on the body portion here. And then I'm just going to rotate the cylinder. And then bring that down and kind of place it towards the head area here. And then to fix that bend there, I'm just going to grab the bend and then just adjust the bend here. And then that's going to kind of help us get out a somewhat of a proper portion of this body here. Really, I don't want the neck too bendy, but I want it to be a little bit more similar to our reference, where it kind of bends and then kind of is able to go right into a curve of some sort. And then now that we took out the S curve, I think what I'll actually do is bring in another bend here. And then what I'll do is just shrink down our cylinder. And so I'm just going to kind of make a giant S out of multiple cylinders here. And then I'm just going to rotate that there just to see that that's lining up with the head correctly. And yeah, that's looking good there, so we'll just keep that. What I'll do is just copy and paste our cylinder here and rotate this 90 degrees, bring this down, and then just kind of line it up with the rest of the body here. And really, I'm still looking for somewhat of a tighter curve to the neck portion. So I'm just going to grab our original cylinder and then just really bring down that strength here. And then I'm just going to rotate our shape and again line it up to the head. Cool. And then I'll do the same process to this other cylinder here, and then I'll just rotate this, bring this down, and then just again kind of line it up to the body here. Really, I'm just adjusting it just so it's nice and flush against this other cylinder here. And then I'll just kind of bring down the strength to just kind of adjust our curve here. Cool, so that's a little bit more on par with what I was thinking as far as this shape goes. Of course, we could kind of play with it and make it whatever shape we want, but I think having a nice curve to the entire body is going to really kind of help it look a little bit more exciting versus if we just made it somewhat plain looking. And so, all right, so next up, I'm going to bring in another cylinder here. Now I'm going to bring in a cylinder, and then I'm going to just bring this down here. And then what I'll do is just elongate this out and then kind of play with the strength of the bend here. I think having it bend in a upward motion will be pretty cool here. So I kind of like that. So we'll just line this up to our body here. And then again, I'll just copy and paste so it bends in a downward direction here. And then really just adjust the strength there. And then I'm just going to turn off all the bends so we're not seeing the purple lines that come from the bends here, so it's a little bit cleaner. Next up, I'm going to bring in a taper, and we're just going to fit that to our cylinder. And then I'll adjust the strength, and then that gives us a nice tapered edge to our cylinder for the tail portion of this dragon. So that's just a very basic way of making the shape of our body here. And so next up, what we'll do is we'll start to work on making these scales for the dragon. So what I'm going to do next is just bring in a cylinder, and then I'm going to slice the cylinder here and then just kind of reduce down the size. Then I'm going to bring in a cube and then shrink down the size as well. And then I'm going to take this cube and line it up to the cylinder that we had there. And then I'm just going to copy and paste the same cylinder and bring it to the other side of this cube here. I'm going to bring in a null and rename it scale. Throw in all of these into the null, give it a quick save, and then we'll just adjust the size here. So next up, what I'm going to do now that we have our scale is I'm going to bring in a matrix scatter. I'm going to select object, and then for our object portion, I'm going to use our cylinder here that is our body. And then I'll just go over to the Redshift object tab here, go down to custom objects and throw in our scale null that we made here. And then I'm just going to bring up the Redshift render view and then just kind of zoom in onto our body here. And so we'll just have to adjust the rotation of these scales. So I'll just adjust these slightly here. And then I'll just crank up the count here to 100. Let's try 600. And 300 is looking pretty nice here. I'm going to go to our vector portion here and just kind of change some of these just to see exactly what kind of look I like the most. I think that one there is looking pretty good. We might roll with that one, but Let's just kind of continue to tweak it a little bit more here. I'm just going to hop back into our transform tab here, and then really just kind of play around with the rotation of these until we get something that is looking pretty good here. And as I kind of pull away here, that looks pretty good. What I'll do is I'll copy and paste our Redshift matrix here and add it to the bottom portion of this body just to kind of see what that looks like. And then I'll do the same for the rest of this body here. Just copy and paste the same matrix. And that looks pretty good. Of course, we kind of always go in there and tweak it a little bit more. Let me turn off the S curve here and see what this looks like. Now I'm just going to go back into our first cylinder here, and I'm just going to continue to play around with the rotation of these scales just to see what other looks we can get here. I think maybe this one might be a little bit better, where I have this kind of rotating in a downward fashion where it kind of moves down the body here. So we might roll with this one here, but we'll just kind of continue to play around with how this looks, and we'll just kind of take it from here. And really, I just want to kind of rotate our camera here and see all these different perspectives here just to make sure that this is looking exactly how we want it to. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So next up, what I'm going to do is just turn off our Redshift matrix here. And then I'm just going to bring in a cone. And with this cone, we're going to make a few different horns using these cones. And so I'm just going to kind of adjust this to the body here and kind of shrink this down and bring it towards the body. And really with these, I'm just going to try to line them up to the back neck portion of our dragon. And then I'll just grab a bin deformer, throw that in, fit to parent, and then I'll just adjust the strength there, and then we'll just rotate our cone. Cool, so I'm just going to copy and paste our cone there, and then I'm just going to kind of rotate it in a downward fashion. And then I'm just going to kind of bring this down. And then same thing here, I'm just going to copy and paste. And I'm going to bring that one down as well. Again, copy all three of these, rotate these. And then bring those down a bit. And then just kind of make sure I rotate them here. Cool. So I'll just copy and paste this last one. And then bring this in a little bit more. And then I'll just do the same thing a few more times here, just kind of work our way down the body here. So I'm going to give it a quick save, bring up the Redshift render view here, and then just kind of zoom in a little bit more. And so that's that's looking pretty cool so far. So, and then I'm just going to turn off the S curve just to see what that looks like. And that gives us a really cool looking shadow effect there. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so next up, I'm going to really work on the tail portion. And so what I'm going to do is hop into the Grayscale Gorilla library. They do have this interesting looking plants. And so I'm just going to hop into their plant section here. And then I'm just going to select this one, bring this over towards the tail, rotate this a bit. And then just increase the size. And so that kind of gives us a cool looking shape here. And then what I'll do is I'll just copy and paste this shape a few times and then just kind of rotate it slightly to kind of give us a cool little three-dimensional tail here. And then I'll just kind of increase the size here just a bit and then just adjust this so it lines up to the tail a little bit more here. Cool. So next up, I'm going to bring up the Redshift render view again and just kind of see what our tail looks like. And it's a little too small here, so we'll probably adjust this here. I'm just going to grab all of our shapes here and just kind of increase the size. And then I'm just going to kind of rotate the position of the tail. And actually what I want to do is I don't want it to be so condensed to the body. I don't want it to be so pushed up against the body. So what I'm going to do is just grab our cylinder here and then just adjust the strength here. Just kind of bring that body up a little bit more. And then we'll grab the tail portion, adjust this, and again, kind of line it up to the bottom half of this body here. And then I'm just going to rotate this to adjust it a little bit more. And then I'm just going to bring back the camera just to see what that looks like. And then just hop into a different perspective just to see what that looks like in this direction here. And then what I'll do is we'll turn off this S curve and really zoom in into our dragon here. And then just kind of look at it just to see what's going on here. So there are some minor concerns with some of these scales here, and so we might adjust this later on, but I think for right now going to be good enough for our dragon, and then we'll always go back in and adjust it later on. So all right, so next up we're going to start the color portion of our dragon. And so what I'm going to do is just jump into the Redshift library here. And we do have a few different options for colors here. And so I'm just going to try and bring in a few different ones. I think for the face, I want to do some of this metal paint here, and then eventually throughout the body we're going to do some sort of a gold color. And so I'll just adjust the camera to the face here and kind of zoom in a little bit. I'm going to go down to our shapes and then start applying some of this color here. And then I'll adjust the camera slightly here. And really with this, I just kind of want to see what this specific color looks like. And so I'll just put these on a few of our pieces here. And then I'll throw in this other one just to see the difference between the two. And then we threw this color onto the whiskers and it has more of a brown look to it. So that's pretty interesting. It's probably because of the geometry we have on there, just because there might be a little bit more segments in there. We'll probably see a lot more of that dirtiness that comes with the metal there. And so that's kind of an interesting look. And then what I'll do is I'll do a pattern of some sort. So I'll just use this metal here on this shape, and then add in this one as well, and then just kind of rotate back and forth between the two. And I think with rotating between the two, it's going to kind of add in a little bit more variety to the face. And so I think maybe rotating it where it's every other one that we're doing one of these colors is going to give us a cool look, but also add in a bit of variety here. So we'll just kind of rock with this and see exactly what this looks like, and then we'll always go in and adjust some of these here. So now it looks like the teeth were yellow, so we're going to actually take that out and we'll apply a different color to our teeth there. I'm going to jump into the Redshift library here. We're going to scroll all the way down, and I think one of these car paints could be nice. I'm gonna try this one here. And then with adding that color of white, I really can't see the difference too much, but we can always jump back in and just kind of re-examine how that looks later on. But other than that, I'm just going to kind of continue this pattern of every other shape. I'm going to do one of these paints or the other, and so we'll just kind of carry on here. I think this one with the eyebrows is pretty cool because it adds a lot of detail kind of going down the pyramid that we use there. And so I think that's pretty cool, where the rest of the head is just kind of a more clean metal look. So that's a pretty cool touch there. So I think we'll kind of leave that as is, and then we'll just continue on here. and then we'll throw in that white to the teeth portion here. All right, so next up for our horns here, what I'm going to do is hop into Grayscale Gorilla, and we're going to try and find some sort of cool color for our horns here. So I'll just kind of look in here, and I think this might be a little interesting, so we'll just throw that in. And no, that's definitely not it. Let's hop into the Redshift library here and see what else we can find. And this asphalt one could be pretty interesting here, especially because of how glossy it is. And so I think having both a yellow and black could look pretty sweet here. So I'm just going to apply this to our horns. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Of course, you know, we can always go back and adjust it depending on how this looks like with a little bit more light. But I think that's going to give us the look that we want for right now. And then we'll just go back into that a little bit later if need be. So all right, so I'm going to throw in the same color for the whiskers here, and then just kind of continue on with our pattern. And then next, we're just going to fill up the entire body with this one color here. And then I'm just going to rotate this. Then for our horns, I'm just going to do the same asphalt color here. And just apply those to each one of those. Cool, so it's coming along just right here. It's looking pretty good. Next up, what we have to do is we have to find some sort of gold. I'm going to hop into the Grayscale Gorilla library here just because they do have some pretty cool gold textures here. So we'll just kind of look at some of these here. And I do like some of these, especially the scaly looking ones. And so we'll just kind of see what they have here. So I'm just going to apply that gold to our null here, which is our scales. And then I'm just going to go into the Redshift render view, hit play, and then we're going to see what this looks like here. And then as we zoom out, we can see that the gold is applied, but we necessarily really can't see that much because of the lighting here. So what I'll do off camera is just bring in some more lighting into the scene just so we can see a little bit more of our dragon here. All right, so we can see a little bit more here, and really what I'm doing is just kind of playing around with this background area. And so I think what will be cool is to kind of make a area where our dragon is in some sort of water of some sort. And so I brought in a landscape here. I think with the landscape is going to give us some really cool ripple effects as if it was water. And so I'm just going to kind of reduce down the size and adjust it to the dragon here. And then as I kind of adjust the camera and put this in perspective, we can kind of see the organic ripples there from the landscape that we brought in. So, and what's cool is we're using that wet asphalt, so it has more of that glossy wetness to it. So that's a pretty cool look. And then of course we can kind of play around with the background and see exactly what we want to do. At this portion, I really don't know what I want to do as far as our background goes. I definitely know that I want our dragon to be in the forefront and definitely stand out quite a bit, but I really don't know what to do, especially since this is more of a stylized metal dragon here. So I'll just kind of play around with a few different looks, but really I just want to get the right perspective here originally, and then we can kind of play around with the background here. So we have our dragon here. I think what we'll start with is we'll bring up a landscape, and with this landscape we'll try to make some sort of mountain range in the back. And so I'll just adjust this landscape here and bring this to the back portion of the S curve, and then I'm just going to increase our segments just a bit, just so we get some nice edges to this mountain range. And then I'm just going to copy and paste our landscape just to continue those mountains throughout the scene here. Now I'm going to throw in a dome light, and then I'm going to go into our HDRI section of Grayscale Gorilla, and then I'll just find a few of these and then just kind of place these into this dome light here, just to see what kind of overall look we get, or just overall color in general. So I'll throw in some of these more warm looks here. And so I'll try this one. Now this is kind of interesting. It's more of a cooler look. It's one of the studio lightings that they have, but that's an interesting look. It kind of makes the gold pop out a little bit more. And then what I'll do with our water landscape here is I'll just try to line this up to this mountain range here. And I think having this darker area here would look pretty cool, as if it is some sort of land far out in the distance. And so I'm just going to adjust the scale there, and then kind of place this up against the mountains, and you have that nice contrast where this land is going to be more of a darker color, and then our mountain range is going to be somewhat of a lighter color here, so you can really see the difference between the land in the background and then the mountain range as well. So and really I'm just trying to get that same look as if we're you can kind of see land far away in the distance. You really can't make up what it is, but you know that there is some sort of land piece there, and then a massive mountain range. So and then I'm just going to play around with our mountains here just to see if we can get more of a dramatic look from our mountains. And so I'm just going to kind of increase those a bit. and then just adjust the S curve here. And then maybe if we do more of a kind of a graphic design sort of look, I'm actually going to bring in a cube here and then just line this up to the back portion of the S curve here. And then just kind of copy and paste as well. And then maybe if I bring in a cylinder and make some sort of sun look, I'm just going to increase the segments here. And then I'm just going to rotate the sun. And then just kind of line it up to the back portion here. And then I'm just going to hop into Grayscale Gorilla, and they have this really interesting texturized orange here. This is more of a carpet material, but I think just the splotchiness of this will kind of add a really cool look to the sun. And yeah, that looks pretty cool. It's very, you can kind of see the detail, but it's very dull at the same time. I'm just going to increase the size a little bit more and then just adjust where that is. Now I'm just going to adjust some of the lighting here just to see what kind of looks we can get with this. I think that lighting is a little blown out, but we'll just kind of play around with this to really kind of hone in this lighting here. Really, the white aspect of this might be kind of bouncing the light off quite a bit here, so we'll just hop into the Grayscale Gorilla and bring in a few different colors here to kind of experiment with and see what kind of look that gives us to more of our graphic look here. So take this color here and apply it to the S curve. And yeah, that's not the look we want, so I'll just undo that there. And then same thing with kind of the puddle portion we made. I don't think that really works with what we have going on here. And then I'll throw in a few of our blues, and then I'll try this one. Yeah, not so much. I will throw in this clay here. And the clay is kind of interesting just because it does, again, have a more texturized look. And then what I'll do is I'll bring in a cube just to kind of replace this back portion of our S curve here. And then I'll really just adjust our sun that we have as well. And then we'll go into our Redshift library and just kind of pick out a few different colors here just to see what else we could grab here to really enhance the background. So now, if we throw in a darker background, that looks a little bit better, especially with having all of this whites. It's a nice contrasting color here. We'll throw in this darker one as well. And I think that background is looking pretty good for our initial render. Of course, we'll just kind of continue to play around with this and see what we can get. Normally what I do is I will try to play around with the background. I'll play around with lighting, also the perspective as well. Sometimes I'll throw in a few different colors to our lighting just to see exactly what kind of overall look it gives us. But sometimes by doing this process, you could stumble upon something that is either a little bit different or something that you may not have thought of. And so sometimes at the end of whatever I'm doing, I kind of tinker around the scene here just to see exactly what other looks we can get from this. And then what's cool about this is I actually found one of our other renders by doing this. I actually found our other render by doing this, that red background with more of the black mountains and then the black water as well too. So by just kind of playing around with it, I was able to find more of a stronger piece overall. So, but other than that, that's pretty much it for our dragon here. Most of the time spent was with the head, and then the body was somewhat rather easy. Of course, we could kind of go back in and readjust some of the scales just because some of the scales were kind of poking out in different directions, so we can always do that. But other than that, that was pretty much it for our metal dragon here. Let's hop into the wrap-up section and finish this off. All right, so wrapping up our project with this project here, I just wanted to show you guys something that was a little bit different versus what I normally do. I normally focus a lot more on architecture, design, or just landscape altogether, but I really wanted to try and model a few. I just wanted to model something different. I've never done something like this before, especially a dragon here, so I really wanted to kind of play around with this and see what we can get from there. But I think for our first shot or our first go at it, it came out pretty good. I think what we need to work on in the future, or if I were to redo this, I would definitely kind of play around with the scales a little bit more. I think that is probably the one aspect that is kind of lacking in our dragon here, but I really wanted to focus a lot more on the face and really make sure that we got the face down correctly. So other than that, that's pretty much it for this. Let me know what you guys think. If you like projects like this, let me know. If there's something that you want me to try, let me know that as well. And then coming up next here, I think the next project I'm working on here is some sort of character of some sort. Again, like I said, I mainly work in the architecture or landscape portion of 3D, but I really haven't played around with any sort of character design. So I want to make some sort of character exclusively within Cinema 4D. I'm not going to be using ZBrush or anything else, just primarily Cinema 4D. So again, like I said, I haven't done this before, so we'll see how this goes here, but I'm sure that we'll kind of play around with it and kind of see exactly what we can make out of this, and it'll be just kind of a fun experiment to kind of see what we're able to make out of that. So but other than that, that's pretty much it for today. Like I said, let me know what you guys think. But other than that, you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.